Hi, Daryl and Brian. How are you guys?
I have it.
Wonderful.
Abby,
Wonderful.
we'll start this out right. We don't want to waste any time.
Well, this is a pleasure for me, so don't think that you are. Going to enjoy
Abby,
this.
welcome to our show. Folks, this is Abby Holmes, who worked with Phil Kelly back in the day
Yes,
when they were with Pam's. And we're going to learn a lot about him and you today. And it's going to be so much fun.
thank you.
Well, how's everything going to start out with? I told you that wasn't going to be the first question, but
Well, that's okay. Everything's going fine. I think we are technically okay. So
actually, yes, you look great. You sound great.
The only
good. A
thing
few
that I
little
going on.
allergies you might hear. I'm sorry, we're having a bad kind of
Oh, we can't
allergy
No, no,
day
no,
here, so
no,
I
no, no.
apologize.
even try.
Daryl, switching back between Abby and your picture whenever y'all talk.
Well, everything looks fine on my end.
Okay,
Here
that's
too.
fine. I'm telling you what's going on with me. When you say something, I see you. When she says something, I see her.
I, Abby, well, here's the first question. Tell us about the first time you met Phil.
The first time I met Phil was sometime in the early 70s. It must have either been through Dave Zoller or through Trella Hart, who was one of my very dear friends, as particularly in later years. But she had come in to hear me sing in a nightclub, and I think that's kind of how that mostly started. It's been a while back. This was 1970, 71, maybe.
Wow.
But it was the beginning of a pretty wonderful time for me.
Well, so what was it like working with Phil? What was a typical day at work with him?
Oh gosh. Well, unfortunately, I didn't get to work with Phil as much as I'd like to, but I did get to do some pretty wonderful uh, spots with him that he had written. And well, Phil was just a great person. He was so much fun, so intelligent and witty. And I'd call him a musician's musician. I never
Oh,
met a musician, a composer, a singer, a producer, anyone who didn't just think he was just absolutely the greatest.
Well,
And
wow.
so you,
his work to this day holds up because I actually still sing a track now and then of Phil's when I'm singing a jingle from a jingle package.
well, how would he approach a session? Did he like pass out music at the beginning and go over details?
Mhm.
I mean, how that, yeah,
Well, yes, and we all read music, so uh, he would. It depends on the size of the group. Usually, he worked with a little smaller group, uh, and one thing I remember is working with the three other ladies, Trella Hart, and a couple of other wonderful singers that I got a chance to meet and learn from in those days. They had been in the business a little longer than I had, and of course, I admired all of them. So I would say that working on a session with him was very unique because of his great personality. Because he's very witty and always had a joke and kept us everybody in stitches all the time.
so he,
But he was very definite about his ideas, and I was thinking earlier, very innovative and ahead of his time with the way he did produced vocals. He had a definite idea, and it was outside of the mainstream. And I was really excited about it. I was young, and I really liked that approach. It was more of a approach, and everybody sing with a lot of energy and glottal starts. And um, he would, I remember him telling the group he really didn't want us to sing the traditional blendy way that the groups usually sang. He wanted everything with punch. And I remember him going like this with punch, and he would tell us how he wanted it some. And
Yeah,
you know what I mean, don't you, Brian?
yeah, yeah.
And I think
Well,
that must have translated into the vocal.
I said I don't think the commercials are as good anymore. The music behind them
Um,
or anything. It's all
uh,
electronic.
it's it's all electronic. And of course, that was disappointing to those of us who knew the difference and knew how great it was to walk into a studio and see the string players all sitting there, members of the Dallas Symphony, and they were waiting because all the horn players were playing, and there was just
Yeah.
always a huge event going on with a session, and they were always such fine musicians.
When you did the session, you all did it together at the same time, right? There wasn't individual recording sessions where it was just singers and just strings.
Oh, no, there were.
Okay.
There were all of these sessions would be like the probably the rhythm section would be first, piano, bass, drums, guitar. Maybe they overdubbed something at some point of guitar or whatever after that. And then I guess normally they would bring in horn section. And everybody had their own charts, musical charts, their own parts, on music stands at their instruments or as we were standing at the microphones to sing.
In the day, it was all handwritten, wasn't it? He didn't
Oh,
print.
it was. And I just loved that. And we got to where we could recognize the
it.
composer's manuscripts. And then when we started seeing everything done by computer, we said, oh no, we're not sure we can do this because it was different.
So
Uh,
you shared a picture with us, and then you also
yeah.
shared a link to a piece of music that Brian has talked about quite a bit. The great.
Oh, I've never forgotten this session you're about to talk about.
Is this something that happened in the space of a day, or was it over?
Well, for the vocals, yes, but like I was saying that there are several sessions that go into making a whole product.
I'm going to put the picture up around this time so everybody can see the four ladies in the picture. Can
Okay.
you who they were? Who do we see from left to right?
From left, if I remember the picture, I'm not seeing it, but I know the picture well. That was Lucy Crane on the left, and she was the wife of Fred Crane, but who was an amazing musician who we all adored, a piano player extraordinaire. And
Yeah.
Lucy was just a great, fun, uh, big voice. She was about 5 feet tall, but boy, you'd never know when she had that energy, that Phil wanted. And then next, oh, go ahead.
The lady with the pearl necklace. That's the next one.
Next to the left, that would have been Betty Zoller, Betty Pierce Zoller, who was Dave Zoller's wife. They, I believe, came to town maybe from Kansas City in the early days. These ladies started a few years before I did. I was the rookie.
Mm-hmm.
She's also a very good singer, of course, Betty. And then that was my dear Trella, my very best friend in the business. And afterwards, we talked every day on the phone, and I just enjoyed her so much. We lost her last year.
Oh yes, yes.
Very, very sad. And I know that she and Phil were very close friends.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, Brian,
so
Oh yeah.
they actually have a tape, and it starts out with Trella introducing a demo for.
Mhm.
She says, "Hi, this is Trella Hart," and you can tell that she's about to bring on a whole parade of melodies, and it's just a masterpiece. Just the demo itself.
Yes, and you mean the Great American Music Machine? Did it happen to be that, or was it?
Well, that's definitely one of them. But
Oh,
I more about the Great American Music Machine. I heard a little bit of it from the link you sent me today, and I want to thank. If whatever I got to do to let people hear that, I will thank you so much. I'll give you all the credit. I'll let you do whatever you want. You can have whatever you want. Just let us play that for the yes, it is
that is
candy for the ear.
that is the owner of that track is now Jam Productions, owned by John and Mary Lynn Wolfert. And John Wolfert started with me as an engineer I was singing. He was an engineer at Pam's studio back in the 70s, around the same time. And he went on to start his own jingle company and then eventually became the owner of the Pam's library and the rights to sell it, the product.
Wow.
So we are lucky enough to get to sing those sometime and hear all those great players from the 60s.
So the Great American Music Machine was for a company, like an advertisement?
The Great American Music Machine was recorded by Pam's, which was a very innovative, one of the first jingle houses, if not the first, for radio identification jingles. So it's very specifically, we call them a package, and that's several small jingles. Sometimes there are longer beds for the radio personalities to speak over, or a weather bed, and you'll hear the music. So some of the tracks are longer.
Like a box of chocolate. A box of chocolates. Yeah, like a
yes, that's right. That's right. Exactly. But these, that's an industry unto itself, and that's where I have spent most of my career in doing radio jingles.
So you've known Phil this whole time, and you stayed in touch with him through all the
through Trella, because they were just bosom buddies. And Brian, I'm surprised you don't call her Aunt Trella.
I used to refer to her as my godmother. We used to say Trella was our godmother.
Oh yes, well of course, and she was a great one.
Very facetiously invented that term.
Yeah. Okay. Yes, and I understand why.
Yeah.
So you guys
that sounds like Phil.
You're friends at work, but you're also friends outside of work. You have a social setting. Is Phil reserved? Is he outgoing, funny? What is he like outside?
Oh gosh. Well, Phil was always fun to be with, and of course we were all, musicians, not of the quality that he was. I will say, I was a youngster learning the craft, and I did learn a lot from him. But he was fun and witty. He was the kind of person that would say what you wish somebody would say, but bless you, Phil, you said it, and thank you for that. To the client or to the producer, or whoever needed to hear it, or even, under his breath to us. It was just, it always kept things real light and fun.
Yeah, yeah. I talk a little bit about alternate lyrics to different things.
Well, I know there were other sessions because Trella had told me that she had sung.
I heard some.
You may have heard the famous one that I was part of the vocal group that sang on the chorus of the Skiller's Drugstore.
Yeah.
It's the one I remember. And so
there was a
Trella
funny, there was a funny 7-Eleven one too, with funny magazines under the counter and stuff like that. There's some reference to that.
Oh, I'm sure. I remember those 7-Eleven spots. I got to do some.
Oh, that's funny.
The one I was thinking about was the Skillers.
Yeah.
When you guys goofed off like that, was it just to break tension, or it was just to finish up the day, happy hour time, that kind of?
No, it was to have fun, and also because I think it was the particular group of people that were together, and that's just the way we were.
There's company so much. I mean, it must be have all that talent together in one room. And
it was great.
At the same time, you're doing the best job you could, that there is. And
thank you.
You ride on a cloud like that, and then you make money from it. That's so.
Made money from it, but sometimes the money was even secondary to if you worked with the right people, and it was a great musical experience. You remember it, you file it back in the back of your head. And I would say that
it's not work after it's so fun. It's not work.
Yes, that's right.
Can you recall a time when you were doing an arrangement with him, and that arrangement just transformed?
Well, I could, you can hear because the vocals are three tracks generally, three instrumental tracks layered on top of each other. We call that stacking, but layering, I've heard it referred to as that in other places. But it's you can hear as each layer gets put on, that it is building, and then uh, we don't necessarily sing with the whole track. Sometimes we'll say, well, just give us the rhythm section to sing with, just so we can lock into the pitch and everything. Uh, but then when we hear it with all the instruments, in the final product, yes, you can certainly hear it growing. It's a process.
When
Creative, very
Yeah.
creative.
would Phil write music to your strength? I mean, did he get to know your range? And so he would say, Trill, I want you to do like the alto, you do the soprano here. I mean, he kind of knew where people sang the best, the music.
Yes, yes, I would say yes, he did. Um, and now I'm thinking on the Great American Music Machine, there's a story behind that, a couple of stories if you want to hear them.
Sure, we do.
What made that particular group of jingles, radio jingles, so special was because it was there were no synthesizers in those days, or none used, and the tracks. Actually, John Wooford, who I was talking about, who owns Jam and was an engineer at PANS during that time, Phil, I guess, asked him to go out and record, record machinery sounds of the city, sounds of machines. So essentially, just going out and acoustically recording, with a microphone, sounds of the city, samples. In other words, early samples that, of course, you can get those um, all over the computer. It's available online. But these were real samples early on. Very innovative.
Moog synthesizer.
Very interesting.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Is that Moog synthesizer you're speaking of, like the Waddy?
Yes, yes. I mean, you can get those sounds on a synthesizer if a writer can, if they're wanting to synthesize a track or produce a track, purely synthesizer, then you can buy samples. But in those days, you couldn't. So it was a very innovative idea to go out and find sounds of the city. And if you listen to that track and other parts of that package, you can hear them. The
Oh, wow.
grindings of gears, and I can't remember all the things. But it was innovative.
The jingle industry. I bought the Ken Art books, and I've been trying to catch up with all the history. There's so much to it. I mean, I don't think I'll ever hear everything that has been made. We're just trying to concentrate on Phil stuff. But
Well, you're concentrating on some of the best, so
oh yes,
I wouldn't worry about a lot of it, about not hearing a lot of it.
one of the things that blows my mind is the variety of styles that he conjures. It's almost like anything is an effortless. There's calypso. I think I'll do this calypso song. What do you think about that? And
His musicianship, it was always perfectly done, musically. But one thing I always enjoyed about Phil's tracks was I always thought they were whimsical in nature. So much fun, he may work in some horn lines, he may work in an old song, a melody that you
Yeah.
might recognize. And I just loved that. He was just so incredibly creative.
Is this the kind of stuff that he would do between sessions, or he would do it on the fly? Would he go home at night and do it at
Oh,
night?
no. No, it was all planned out. Oh no, he did it in his writing and arranging session, wherever he wrote. I'm assuming in his office somewhere. He brought all the music to the session. By the time we got there in the studio, we were ready to go. Time is money. We don't we don't do
Yeah.
anything we don't have to do while a bunch of people are on the clock.
How was his pacing? Was it fast?
It was, yes. Oh, yes. He was a professional and he knew, I think, how to organize his time. Uh, but another thing I think I wanted to tell you about his style was just that it was so different. His singing style was so different. It was great to be exposed to that. It was a more popish and more percussive vocal sounding with so much energy, where everyone else was still singing, smoothly and connecting their notes. And after this package, because it was so innovative, then it became kind of more mainstream. And I would hear wherever I would go. I, gives that energy. And it kind of changed, I think, the way vocals were looked at and recorded and
That's quite
approached.
interesting.
I think it
Yeah,
was.
yeah.
I was fortunate to get to see that, have a foot in that, where the old school, where it was just so fantastic and all these wonderful mentors. My timing was right. And I've just been able to watch it evolve or devolve, whatever you want to say.
Did you ever
Uh,
like go into
Yeah, yeah.
Did you ever do overtime or, have to work late
oh, yeah,
nights? Oh, yeah?
sure. Through the years, not for Phil so much because it was always kind of an event,
Oh,
but we had our mundane work that we would do, uh,
so how would you
and
compare Phil?
sometimes.
Well, you've already talked about, how awesome he is, but how would you compare him to the other writers that you've worked with?
Well, of course, there are other great writers, um, but I would say that Phil came from a musician's point of view, which was very interesting to a singer, but of course, was made everything musically perfect. Um, I've worked with other writers who were singers, and maybe they brought a different point of view, but Phil always just had such I want to say, a, a a classic approach, not classical, but a classic approach to, the instrumentation was, it was just right. And you don't see that much anymore.
Yeah, I had a chance to see his library of his books on orchestration and theory in his
Mhm.
garage, and it was the most extensive orchestration book I've ever seen. And I thought this guy probably knows the ins and outs of every single musical instrument he's even.
Oh,
So
no doubt. No doubt about it.
this blows my
Now,
mind.
did he go? No, he didn't go to UNT. He didn't need to. He was, Brian, where did, were you born up north somewhere?
Miami University in Dayton.
Oh, okay. That's where Phil
Yeah,
went.
Dayton. Yeah, Dayton University. That my mom and he both went there.
Oh, I see. Okay. All right.
Yeah,
Well,
and
and I guess he
it's
met Trella up in Midwest somewhere.
Probably,
I'm not sure. I think it was Ernie Chapman that got them to meet at some point. Ernie was always had a hand in everything. I mean,
Yes.
he got us into Dallas.
Oh, he
So
did.
it's pretty
Okay.
interesting.
So Trella
Yeah, I
tells
got to
me
talk
that
to
he was the,
Ernie. Let me see. I talked to Ernie in 2014, right before he passed, and he told me everything that I didn't know because I was 3 years old. He says, "Yeah, I found that house over by SMU, and I got him all hooked up with Frank Durone, and he just told me a host of things." And I was literally asking him about uh, a business plan for the hair salon that I just taken over. But we went into music immediately, and we were
oh,
talking about
gee,
that instead.
you took a
Isn't that
chance. It
funny?
sounded like you had a sure thing going
Well,
with the
no,
hair.
I was talking to him, and it's funny. He said, "So the salon's running. You got people coming in and out." And he says, "Yeah." And he said, "Well, you don't have a business plan. You're working a business plan every day. Forget about that. Just keep the place running." And then I didn't waste my time worrying about it anymore.
Good
Very
advice.
interesting, though. Yeah, yeah. It was nice of him to call out of the blue. I'm sure my dad had called him and said, "Here, I'll get Ernie to call you." And boom, he called. It was like that. I have a question for you about a recording, and it's called uh, Let Not Your Heart Be Troubled, a sacred anthem and benediction. And you're on here, and Kay Sharp,
Mm-hmm.
and
Sang with
Greg.
her a lot.
Yeah, it was a benediction done by my grandfather for my grandmother, and
Mhm.
it was the last thing that my dad and my grandfather wrote together.
Oh,
Are you
that's good.
familiar with it?
I I might be if I heard it. I guess it's
Yeah,
been a
it's on
while.
a cassette tape. We haven't even listened to it because it's on a cassette.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I get that.
it
I've got
says
a lot of those.
voice consultant is Tom Merriman,
Mhm,
and it's got Abby Holmes, Gray Sharp, and Anna Gray Brown as voices, Greg
mhm,
Clancy and Jim Clancy,
mhm.
Chris Kershaw and Dan Alexander, and listen to this, synthesizer consultant Gerald Stockton.
Oh my gosh. Well, then, you just listed a
And
lot of
listen to
good
this.
friends of mine.
And the engineer is Tony Griffith, who I know Tony because Jason introduced
Yes.
me to Tony.
Yes, and Tony passed though,
Yeah, yeah.
several
He
years.
was I've never
Unfortunately.
seen him. He was so excited to meet me
Well,
though. He says, "Oh, I can't believe you're Phil's son," and he was just going nuts. And it was funny because it was when I was taking guitar lessons from Jason. He says, "I got to run somewhere. You may want to go with me." I go, "Really?" And he goes, "Yeah, let's go over. I got to run down to Tony Griffith's studio and give him something." And it was a tape that he had to give him. And we sat there for 2 hours and talked to Tony.
oh,
I mean,
yeah.
just
Well,
for,
Tony would spill the beans.
yeah,
He was
it's
easy to
funny.
talk to. Yeah, he's a good
Yeah,
guy.
we're going, just for your information, we're going after Jason next. He's supposed to call me and do an interview also. So we hope that
Oh, well,
he'll be
good.
a good,
Sounds like you got a lot of good folks who
yeah.
have had different experiences to share.
Yeah, I was the engineer with another guy with Cuvée. So I worked with Jason and Scott for about
Uh,
10, 12 years.
mhm.
With
My son is now their drummer.
I know,
Yeah.
I know Chris. I know Chris really well. I've
Did
actually,
you?
yeah,
I
I've done
didn't
some.
realize that,
I've done,
Brian.
yeah, we did let me see. The last thing I remember was the Arboretum. He had it was right when he was starting out, and he had a little tiny set, and and me and Aaron were actually the engineers at that time. And he says, "Let's go over and say hey to Chris." And I said, "Oh, okay." And I went over there and met him for the first time, and we would see him from time to time. But he's come a long way. I mean, that was probably one of his first gigs out in front of
It
people.
was. Yeah, that was his first band, and yes, 20 years later, he's still doing it,
That's
and
amazing, isn't it?
it is.
Yeah. Well, you should hear the conversation I had with Brian Thomas. All we would do is sit there and try to remember what we remembered about each other. And heck, I was 3 and he was 4, so it
Oh
was
God,
like,
I thought
I
you
said
would
I
do that.
remember the house, and there's a big stairway, and he says, "Yeah, you were there. You remember the house." But
Mhm.
it's just a long time coming, basically.
Well, I'm glad you got to reconnect with him because, of course, he lost his mom last year,
Yeah.
and we're all still grieving over Trella. She was a bright.
Well, he told me not to call her, and he would explain it to, and then boom, it was like, and
Nice.
and and there was another thing that I found out. Gerald died the year before my dad on the exact same day,
Same day. Oh
and
gosh.
Gerald was the last person there before I moved up there. It
My
was Will,
goodness.
and then Gerald, and then I moved up there.
Oh wow.
And I
Okay.
tried to make heads or tails out of his computer because Gerald had gotten in it and messed it up and mixed everything up. And, my dad was hot about that. And he wanted to let
Oh
him
dear.
have it. And he went to call him to let him have it. And he heard about it. And it
Oh,
wasn't a good,
Gerald.
yeah.
He could he could be a
That's
little naughty
unbelievable.
sometime.
He was a
Yeah,
talented guy, man. He
he
really was.
was. He
Yeah,
really
that's what, we're looking for recordings of his too, because there's some stuff that some of the things that he did were on my dad's stuff as the last, the
Really,
CD.
really great player and great writer and
Yeah,
producer. A lot of very enthusiastic, natural musician. And now I just wish we hadn't lost him so soon.
I really appreciate you coming and talking to us.
Well, of
If
course.
if you have any other stories that come up,
Look,
we will be happy
let
to
me
do
just
a
see.
part two.
Yes,
Yeah,
Let's see.
back
Okay,
anytime.
well, I think I had some notes here. I'm just going to make sure. I think we covered just about everything.
Excellent. That's
Well, it
great.
sure has been fun.
You know what? This sets it up for the next time. I think we can go one more time, but we
Sure.
sure appreciate what you've done. Thank you so much.
Oh, well, thank
I
you. And it's a
appreciate it.
lovely
Thank you very much.
tribute. Thank you so much. Okay, bye-bye, guys.
Later.
Bye-bye.